Television was brain rot for another generation. In his day, you simply couldn't drag Grandpa away from Leave It to Beaver. In 1950, only 9% of households owned a television, and by 1960, 90% did.
Yes, it's hard to imagine now, but black and white television was once considered a new vice, a new evil even, and yet was so prevalent that over 3/4 of people at the time were dreaming
in black and white. Sounds kind of aesthetic. But believe it or not, while the 1950s are certainly the first decade which we imagine when we think of black and white TV, the technology is much older.
Yes, television as a novelty dates back to the 1920s, which is inconceivable now, but it was something of a fringe experimental gimmick. The best solution that they could come up with was to flicker a light bulb really fast, spin a disc over it with some holes in it. Terrifying. Not that I could come up with anything better. I'm a videographer, not an electromechanical engineer. This technology was obviously a bit treacherous.
As low as 30 lines of resolution and only sensitive to certain frequencies in the electromagnetic spectrum, and basically zero contrast. So how the hell do you get your talent visible? Forget, expressive. We just want to show up.
Here on the channel, we have talked about what it took to get performers to show up on blue-sensitive orthochromatic film for the movies. But if you thought that that looked strange, the clown-ass look that I'll be composing for you all today is going to make that look like clean girl, everyday makeup, dewy skin 2024. Buckle up. Start eating your food if you haven't already. This is going to be a good one. Today, we are talking about the weirdly colorful makeup
of early black and white television.
Television was invented in 1926, probably way before you think. Yeah, there were a few men who were duking it out over being the first to capitalize on the dissemination of the small screen. Among them was John Baird.
Are you really talking about history when we want to see you paint some shapes on your face?
But you missed the point. There is no joy without the journey. You have to know the context to understand why I paint the shapes, my friend.
Okay, so who was John Baird?
So he was hyper-fixated on this television idea. Radios were already becoming a thing by the 1920s, but the natural question of it really became, if we can hear the radio, why can't we see the radio too? Fair enough. This is the part where you probably think I'm going to tell you all about the cathode ray tube. And I would really love to, but I'm really not, because I want to show you a goofy makeup look. And the goofiest makeup of them all comes with the goofiest tech. Introducing the Frisbee TV. Formerly called the Nipkow disc, otherwise known as the Baird system after John Baird, or categorically under the umbrella of mechanical television. And I honestly don't know whether to call it goofy or scary, but basically they said, hey, let's punch some holes in a circle and spin it really fast. So fast. Then let's put a light bulb behind it and flicker it from bright to dim fast. Really, really fast. Point one camera at a thing and measure the electrical signal that comes from that, the brightness basically, and output that signal to the bulb behind the disc on the set. At the point in time when the hole on the disc in front of the bulb is at roughly the same geometrical point on its display pane as the camera is on its scanning plane. Foolproof. What could go wrong? Well, a lot. It was impractical, it was loud, it was a total waste of energy, as probably 99% of the light from the bulb was being blocked by the flying Frisbee. The people being filmed were in a dark studio that only flashed tiny points of light across them at breakneck speed. Broadcasts weren't recorded or anything most of the time. Live was the only option. And the worst part,
it had a resolution of 30 lines, and it was vertical, like a damn TikTok. Who knows? Maybe they did have brain rot back then.
The man go crazy every time.
Oh, you gotta give him that hawk to it.
So why the f*** did they continue developing this busted technology? 'Cause, it was cool. Yeah. It's hard for us to understand now, I know, in a world where you can exhale gently and have kava brought to your door, or be blasted with any level of comedy, drama, sensation, sensuality, or cuteness you so desire without getting out of bed on a 6-inch panel of glass. But people used to yearn for the future, for invention. Something about being able to see something that's actually far away from you seems to have been an itch of the human subconscious. Every illustration of the future from seemingly ever seems to have had people watching TV or on FaceTime or whatever. They yearned for the screens. But yeah, by all accounts, television in the 1930s was a bit of a racket. 30 lines of resolution, Hollywood actors didn't even dare to touch it, like it had a bad reputation from the outset, and the BBC was broadcasting, but it didn't exactly have a reputation for being thrilling programming. So how do you make a face show up on 30 lines? So the funny thing about the Baird system is, and I know, it's gonna sound ridiculous for me to say, like so out of character, but it was red sensitive.
Bitch, you sold all those posters for blue sensitive. What is red sensitive? You are going to go bankrupt.
Shut up. We will get there. Anyway. Yes, the Baird system, the Frisbee TV, mechanical television used low-contrast red photocathodes. If this isn't the first video of mine that you've seen, you'll probably remember that over in Hollywood, silent films up until 1926 or so were shot on orthochromatic film, and in that context, I meant that that was pretty much blue sensitive, which led to weird makeup because the blue would make Caucasian skin tones appear darker than they actually were, and also because actors wanted their facial expressions to be very visible. So go watch that if you want that background. It's really not necessary for understanding this video, but it might hit 1 million views soon, and for a long, I mean, that's crazy, so it'd be pretty cool. Like, you should watch it. Red sensitive systems, like, okay, it doesn't have a cute name like orthochromatic. Maybe if it did, we'd call it arithrochromatic. No. Not this time. Red sensitive systems actually had the exact opposite problem. Skin tones are mostly in shades of red, so like your lips, they appear darker because they have less green. But in a red sensitive system, it's all just red. You're blowing out the sensors. I mean, you're just gonna be this white blast, this big moon with itty bitty cutie pupils. So naturally, we need a makeup look that complements that. Now, of course, there were so many different systems. The makeup look that I will be doing, it combines a few different approaches that I saw on a few different graphics from the 1930s for television makeup that I came across in my research. This will help us to create something that incorporates bits and pieces from each approach, but creates something that ultimately makes us look beautiful under the red-sensitive Baird system television conditions.
Do we finally get to see you paint shapes on your face?
Yeah.
Finally! God.
Let's bring in the makeup table. Okay, so here's the obligatory, I'm not really a makeup artist. I just kind of approach this like face painting, and this makeup style basically is. Now, most of what I am basing my look on is from this image from 1946, showing Jane Grant and Mary Wirt wearing early TV makeup. Now, it's important to note this is sort of a retroism, a pastiche. The makeup they're wearing here is not of 1946. It represents an already outdated form of TV makeup, aka Frisbee TV makeup, early 1930s stuff. Max Factor & Co. did a press conference where they did these women up like this, and then they were like, look at how ugly and stupid this old system is. Well, it's so natural now, and wiped it off of them, and did it the new way, yada yada. Now, this article describes it as having a chalky base, and from the way they look, we can surmise that their faces are quite pale compared to their necks. I've read here and there about peach tones. No yellow face paint, like for silent films. Gonna be interesting. Now, I'm gonna mix up some CC cream that is already too light for me with a little bit of white foundation. And then I'll just get that everywhere. Like, really caking it on. Oh, I'm going to need a lot more than that. Let's get it rich. What have I gotten myself into? I almost should have put a shower cap on. You guys are lucky that I already committed to the demonstration thing with the silent film makeup because I don't back down. So we're doing it. Do I look like a mime? Do I look like a mime? We're also really gonna powder the hell out of this to get it as matte and chalky as possible. Gotta really get that powder out. Can you hear that? ASMR. I know some of you guys have these videos in your sleepy time playlists. I've seen it in my dashboard. That is so adorable. There were some blue sensitive systems of TV, and this involved actresses getting their faces painted bluish, greenish, dark. I chose not to go with that system. Our base is going to be peachy, chalky, and a little bit white. Next, we have to highlight and contour. For the contouring, I have this article from 1939. I'll Although the site that I found this on notes that this makeup style was already out of fashion by then. So again, early 1930s stuff. Elaine Shepard, Hollywood film actress, could pass for... No, I don't endorse that analogy. She wears the new standard television makeup. White highlighting around the nostrils, eyes, and hollows of the throat is necessary for good reproduction. Lips, eyebrows, and eyelashes are blue-black. It's interesting because this image shows white under her eyes while the other image shows dark under the eyes. I am gonna go for dark under the eyes because it's a bit better at producing definition, I think. What color though? Well, I'm going with brown because it matches up with this 1939 documentary that I saw on TV makeup, and it makes sense that that would produce an intermediate value in a red sensitive system. Although, of course, there were different systems for the makeup that employed different colors. Again, it seems that some Baird system makeup was just a white face with a few blue shadows. So I'm going to go in now, defining my cheekbones with this horrid square shape. It's quite uncanny how it makes you kind of look like an illustration of a skull. I'm just gonna carve out my nose. Don't forget, you're obligated to trace those under eye circles. Then we're going to do a little triangle under the chin. And of course, you know, define those laughter lines too. Do I look weird yet? I remember as a freshman in high school, I did a stint on the theater costume crew, because, of course, and this really reminds me of how we would make up old people. Like, yes, get that paint, deepen them wrinkles. All we're missing is a bit of Party City temporary gray hair dye. Now that our features are defined, we're gonna move on. Now, this article is from Popular Science, 1933, explaining another unconventional color choice. Green replaces red in makeup for television. Green lipstick and rouge replace the customary red in makeup designed for actresses appearing in television broadcasts. The television camera, as it is explained, does not record the red coloring in the human complexion, leaving the transmitted image flat and unnatural. When green is substituted, however, the lips and cheeks of a performer appear an accurate reflection of the tones with other facial features as the image is projected on the screen of the receiver. Aha! People doing black and white movie makeup always do the green lip, it seems like. But I could not find anything for green lips for orthochromatic film. It seems they were either yellow or brown or pink, but not green. I believe the green lip comes from TV. We're just gonna have to paint up our eyeshadows, our cheeks, and our lips green. Now, green will cancel out with the magenta of my lips and just make them dark, so I guess I'll put some foundation on them first. That is gonna feel nasty. It already does. Now to paint them green. Even though I know I look like a horror movie, this is very soothing to me right now. I just feel like I'm doing a little painting. And in the shadows of my eyes too, because I saw it in this diagram about 1930s television makeup, and I just want to make sure I incorporate as many approaches as possible. I basically just feel like I'm doing Frankenstein makeup for Halloween or something. And there we have all the green parts. I'm sure I'm starting to look ravishing right around this point. Now, if you remember our slightly off-color article from 1939 from earlier, it tells us that eyebrows and eyelashes are blue-black. I genuinely am beginning to feel like an exotic bird. Not neglecting that I kind of have to do the upper part of my eye too, although I don't even really know how to do that. Oh god, I hope I don't mess it up by doing this. Okay. This is so scary. Oh, I'm messing that up. I'm just thinking about getting blue paint out of my eyelashes later. I am committed, I'm committed. Well, that is something. Nobody in the literature mentioned mustaches, but I know you won't mind if I personalize it to me just that little bit. Mustaches are like the eyebrows of the mouth, after all. Stupendous, honestly. All right, now I look ridiculous. This really does make the orthochromatic makeup look like chapstick and mascara. It's just wildly out of pocket. I feel like a cubist painting incarnate. Or like when I went as Victor Van Dort from The Corpse Bride for Halloween. This is consumptive chic, baby. Imagine if this was a 2019 beauty YouTube video. Hey Swoffosphere, I'm going on TV today. I'm absolutely obsessed with this green lip.
Get on with the reveal!
You never let me have any fun. If we just turn in black and white, okay, it looks ridiculous. This was not how it worked. This was like if you had been filmed. So a couple of weeks ago, I did some tests to think, what is the best way to show this to you guys? What is the best way that I can give you a gratifying reveal? So you're lucky you'll get to see this all smooth. I just have to trust the process. Now this is the part, right? I'm gonna go ahead and turn the lights to red. Oh, that's bright white. This is even worse. Go ahead and do just red. So this is the red lighting.
I have no idea how this is gonna look from your end. I'm tripping out. But this is the important part, okay? We're gonna trim the resolution to 30 by 70. Crunch the audio so this doesn't feel so uncanny. And crucially, for that last bit of authenticity, I'm gonna run this straight through to my 1980s CRT. Now, it's not mechanical, it's not from the 1930s, but it's as close as I've got, and I wanted something really authentic. Have you guys ever attempted to film a TV screen, by the way? It is a pain in the neck. So know how I am relentlessly faithful to the accurate representation of this makeup. Just shy of, well, building my own Frisbee TV. And the makeup looks fine. Surprisingly natural. You would never guess how freaky I really look. But also, I'm claustrophobic in this little box. It's so unserious how little resolution we have to work with here. 12.5 frames per second. That's why they need all this makeup, because to see anything, you'd have to work it hard. It would look even worse on mechanical TV with a pink bulb and a spinning disc. Like, look at this. Wildly enough, this was mind-blowing for the early 1930s. Luckily, they improved the Baird system. First to 60 lines, and then there were versions with 80, 120, and even 240. Whew. This is a lot more breathing room to work with. I could even show, like, a music video or something. Now, for a while there, the BBC really heavily debated between mechanical and electrical television. In November 1936, they announced a friendly 6-month competition where they could alternate between the Baird system and the electronic system. They ended up calling it 3 months early. In January 1937, the electronic system was declared the true winner. Although the Baird system had been iterated upon, it was no contest against the much more stomachable electric television. CRTs replaced the Nipkow disc, and by 1940, mechanical television was quite obsolete. Makeup for TV became, well, still a little weird, but mostly becoming just a bit of high contrast makeup. Nothing you wouldn't do for any standard broadcast. Still, this clown contouring that talent endured during the early days of television goes to show just how far people were willing to go to bring this technological dream into reality, and how quickly it evolved. By the 1950s, TV was a star-making force. Shows like I Love Lucy became a cultural mainstay in American homes, with one 1953 episode drawing 44 million viewers, or over 70% of households with a TV, turning Lucille Ball into an overnight sensation. Through the 1990s, television remained the medium of the people, one of the main cultural staples and evils, both of its era, until the invention of the World Wide Web. And then YouTube and TikTok. But still, those who had been around long enough to see green lips and blue eyebrows knew they'd really reached better times. And honestly, speaking of the green lips and blue eyeshadows, if this impressed upon you enough, and I might switch back to normal lighting now,
you might want something to remember this fact, and this is the Baird system poster. It is an extremely similar poster to the orthochromatic poster. Same Art Deco art style, same layout, telling a definition of the system and why the makeup was the way it was. I'm so excited to show this off to you guys. I do hope you love it. It's a perfect piece of wall art for anyone interested in strange makeup, TV or film facts, or just having an informational piece of wall decor that reminds you of that one video you watched. Every purchase helps to support the channel and to help me turn this passion project into a full-time thing one day. I painted this myself and then I scanned it, put it on the TV. It's not just an effect. I did the real thing. And you know, human made. So consider the Baird system poster. If you watched this video with a meal and you made it this far, tell me what you ate in the comments. I just recently had this chicken and rice bowl and watched this video by Veritasium. I hope you'll subscribe so you don't miss all the other film and fashion history deep dives I'm going to make that will be just like this one. I've been Swofford, and I will see you on the flip side.